I'm with Tom Larson, CEO of Eloro Resources. The symbol is ELO on the TSX. ELO had an excellent drill intercept that they reported on Tuesday morning, March 11th. 962.23 grams per ton silver over 9.75 meters in hole DSB 75. And that was inside of a wider zone of 34.5 meters, grading 440 grams per ton silver. So that is really exceptional. As far as silver goes, I don't often see holes of 9 or 10 meters of a kilo of silver. What do you make of it, Tom?
Well, I guess, listening to, Dr. Osvaldo Arce, who's, the fellow that really understands more than most, this whole setup, this whole Bolivian system in regard to the Tin Porphyry, and then with the uplifts, for instance, that we saw with the tin hole a couple of weeks ago, and then, further into the epithermal and just the immense size of this, but the true concentration of areas that are very high grade. And he's always spelt this out. He's always stated that he believes Iska Iska is a similar type of, it's in the same sort of environment as where you saw Cerro Rico, where you've seen Llallagua, which was the largest tin mine in Bolivia's history, all on the tin belt, all fed from the same source, being that tin belt. So I'm actually, I found this hole was, I've been sort of on the tin kick for the last month, understanding after, that great discovery that came out back in January 23rd, with that press release at least, just going on about, 33 meters grading 1.39% tin, just to the west of this polymetallic open pit domain that we'd outlined or talked about a little bit in the MRE, sort of the upper part of that MRE envelope, that 600 million ton, but with a bit of higher grade in that upper part being, and we say higher grade, it's sort of laughable right now, 25 gram, 24 gram silver. So I think one of the big, clues that we knew we were onto something was when, last year, just after the negative response from the MRE, that obviously we had to infill and really try and prove the point that, there are some higher grade areas, zones in this deposit, in this upper deposit for the PEA. But when we sent that 7 tons of bulk sample material over to Wardell Armstrong, close to a year ago, and they reported after assaying the whole thing, head grade of 91 grams silver, and then comparing that to 2 metallurgical holes in the same material that was also tested that came in at 31 grams silver, that really sort of led us to, it opened our eyes. And I think that that type of messaging has been very helpful for our team to continually focus in on where they believe some of these higher grade corridors might be. And obviously the tin was a fantastic surprise because that's in Cassiterite. So it's coarse grain, 100 micron potentially. So, great recoveries. Every time we report on our silver equivalents with this project, it's based on 50% recoveries, which is based on more sulfidic tin that we came up with in earlier drilling. But now we can really focus in on that uplift, that what we call that TIB, the tertiary intrusive breccia feeder that was uplifted from that apparent tin porphyry deeper, and really focus in and build out some tonnage. And we had a step out from that hole that I just mentioned, the tin hole, And it also formed, it came in with over 0.5, 0.6% tin, but again, in coarse grained cassiterite. So, that was a real positive. But when Dr. Osvaldo came in, phoned me last week and said, guess what? We've got this hole 200 meters north of hole 68, which was our first fill-in hole on this second phase definition, 5,000 meter definition drilling, 200 meters to the north, like right basically at the top of this pit. And it showed that type of like that 970 gram over, what was it? Close to 962.23 grams silver over 9.75 meters. I mean, that's almost 30 feet. Within that 34.5 meter ranging or interval with a 440.09 grams silver. Those are numbers that are, due to the thicknesses and the lengths of these intercepts, are something to really take note of. And
I mean, silver intercept there, you normally, I mean, in high grade silver vein systems, you almost never see 34.5 meters. You rarely see 9.75 meters. It's usually 1, 2, 3 meters of 800 or 900 grams per ton silver. So when I saw that hole 75, that's extraordinary. It's really extraordinary. And one of the challenges the company has had since since you put out the resource, has been this skepticism that when you infill it and you prove it up to the indicated or measured categories, the grade is actually going to drop. That's a skepticism I've heard from a couple of investors. What do you say to that now, just based upon the drilling that's occurred over the last year?
Well, I mean, this is more of a Dr. Osvaldo um, answer to that question, because sometimes, when I hear Dr. Osvaldo Arce or Dr. Pearson talking about, well, we just have to infill like these 100-meter spacings and, let's do 50-meter infill. That'll improve the grade. Sometimes I'm wondering, okay, well, how's it improving the grade? As a layman, because I'm not a geologist. But Osvaldo sort of pointed it out that there's a lot of pinching and swelling going on. And so when you find intercepts that are 100-meter spacings, but they are carrying, good grade, they can configure the pinch and the swell. And usually if it's swelling, chances are it's higher grade. I mean, you just put a hole in the middle of it. I'm not explaining it the way it should properly geologically be explained, but that's sort of what is, what it's suggesting. All I can say is that when you come in with a hole like this, it did come, it was initially deemed as waste. There wasn't very much drilling at all. I don't think there was any drilling in that particular area to the northwest. So the MRE pointed it out as basically a barren area or potentially low mineralized area, because there wasn't any penetration in that one spot. And here we go again. Look what you're seeing. So no one can knock this deposit. This system it's a unique system, very similar to, the grades that you see at Cerro Rico, some of the silver grades that were mined in the 16th century that really got people going. The thing I love about this is that, we're going to have a strike length on this pit, probably of over 2,000 meters. With the tin also, that's going to extend the pit dimension for the eventual PEA. So, you're going to be under 1-to-1 strip. This is going to be bulk mining. So you're going to have that advantage on the operating side. And you're not going to get numbers like this every time, obviously, but you're going to get some really high grade zones. So if you can show 100 to 150 million tons of, higher grade tin and silver, with the kicker of, zinc and lead coming in. This is our job. It's all about the value per ton that you want to show the market. And it doesn't take too long to suddenly change the whole psychology of how this thing could, that's been upside down for the last year and a half, could revert and move back very, very quickly. And I expect to see this happen.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said you've been on a tin kick for the last few weeks since you reported that whole 74, the 49.5 meters of 0.55% tin. Because frankly, I don't often see tin grades above 0.5%. You've even drilled some holes with tin grades above 1%. That's extremely rare. I know there's been some additional holes drilled, so I'm just interested on where we're at with exploring the tin domain. What more have you learned about this?
Well, the tin domain is something really unique because from Dr. Osvaldo's experience, he's very, very comfortable in that he does feel that this is an uplift. This TIB section, which, if you look at it dimensionally, it could be anywhere from 700 by 700 by 400, and then your SG, you've got a potential 500 million ton sandbox, let's call it, to play around in. That's, coming from a bit of geophysics, which I'm not a huge advocate. I know geophysics has its place. But in this case, this is a rough dimension, early stage. But, you start infilling like that the hole that you just mentioned on the tin, that was the step out from our initial 33 meter grading 1.39%, within 87 meters grading 0.74%. That was the whole 72 actually. So we're going to infill that. We believe because of what I'm again really, really pleased with, it's oxidized material, cassiterite, coarser grain. And so we really want to go after the next phase. We're going to do another 10,000 meters of drilling. There's no question. You have to. When you're starting to get tin results like this and silver results like this, you've got to follow up really quickly and really try and outline initially for your first 12, 15-year mine life. Let's really go after these two major targets. There's 2 or 3 other targets that can be infilled, but now we know we've got 2 really high-grade silver and tin zones adjacent to one another that'll be implemented at some point in some sort of operation. So it's really sort of simple now. Go back in. We expect to get back in there sort of second part of April, and resume drilling that tin and and this silver domain that we just came up with, and a couple of other targets, just to initiate a good 12-year PEA. Remember, 12 years on a system like this, you keep infilling and infilling. Whoever down the road does this, whether it's us or someone else, you're going to be going a lot longer than 12 years. And just to that point, we've also been quietly working away on a pilot plant situation that when I asked Dr. Osvaldo Arce about 6-8 months ago, look at the market, we're sort of spinning our wheels, like, even with this bulk tonnage result of 91 head grade, the market seems to, after the fall from our MRE price, everyone sort of seems to have given up. And the last thing you're going to do is give up on something like this. But again, it takes time. And I said, what do you really think we should be doing here other than, drilling? And his point was, let's create, a ramping scenario. Let's go after this, after the results that we got in England on that 7-ton. Let's show the market that we can actually operate in a small scale in the country, which is another point. So, we've spent the last few months third-party scoping, and it looks fabulous. We'll have that scoping study on a 500-ton-a-day pilot plant, if you want to call it a pilot plant or a bulk sampling type plant, or it's a small-scale modular type setup. We'll introduce the XRT ore sorter, but that'll be more towards the tin, which Minsur, the San Rafael tin operation at the northern part of this tin belt, which again is an uplift from the Tin Porphyry, just like what we're finding. They've been using XRT ore sorting for tin, and their recoveries are fantastic. So that will be implemented on this small scale. It's going to, it's 12 to 18 months away. And we're hoping to get it financed in Bolivia and really get ourselves more aligned with the Bolivian government as a small scale developer, as obviously we're moving forward in that PEA to that pre-feasibility, big scale, big conceptual model that, we've invested in this company. So that's sort of where we're heading.
I see the tin grades that you've reported since February, like those tin intervals, hole 72, 74, as you mentioned. I say, let's drill more. Let's continue to step out into the tin domain. And that's me as an investor in the sector. That's the first thing I think of, that this is open for expansion. We need to better, understand what's going on here with this potential tin porphyry. But then also you report this silver hole 75, which is also extraordinary. So how does it? Yeah. So how do you balance these two domains, the silver, the tin? There's two different styles, essentially. One is deeper, one is shallower.
Well,
yeah.
Okay. Now listen, the one thing we have to make sure of, and because there is some misconception that this tin is too deep or deeper. It isn't. It's near the, when you take a look at the caldera, at the base of the caldera, you can ramp right into this tin that we're reporting. It's down to 400 meters from sort of the surface area. So even if on our small scale little pilot plan, if that in fact, moves forward, the way we expect it will, we can still access, even from a ramp in, forget the big picture open pit. I'm just saying small scale. So remember, it's not deep down. And I was hearing comments about that. No, take a look at the intercept. That was from surface. It's a 400 meter, like eventually the open pit will go to, 400 or 500 meters, probably 4. So it's caps. It's even the open pit model later is taking in this intercept. I agree with you 100%. We have to drill out the tin. This silver will be drilled as well, but the next 5,000 meters is going into that tin domain, because if you can average 0.5, let's say 0.5 of this Cassiterite type material, getting your 80% recovery. I mean, 0.5 is again 11 pounds of tin. So 10 to 11 pounds at $15, today's price, $14.15. That's $150 rock. And if you can pull it out with XRT, and let's say, okay, it's $20 all in, even though it's, we talk about 10, 12, let's say 20 on the operating side, and you can get 50 million tons from this next 5,000 meters. Some of it might be inferred, but a lot of it will be indicated, because we are working on that 50-meter spacing. That is going to add, 30, 40% to the value of our first pass PEA. So that's vital to get that in. And it also brings a uniqueness to the stock in that, there aren't too many silver tin plays, especially high grade in many instances, silver tin, even in a open pit operating bulk tonnage mode. It's turning into a very interesting situation. These holes couldn't have come at a better time, both in the tin, which I'm really excited about, and believe me, I'm very, very pleased with this latest drill hole, and it just tells me that Oswaldo and the team Bill Pearson. These people, sure, I mean, it's exploration, but they've worked really hard, and they're, no one's 100%, but man, they're doing a pretty good job right now, especially with the amount of money that we've had to deal with. We've had very limited funds to come up with 10,000 meters of drilling over a year. So I really am, and I expect to be able to accelerate that quickly. And I think that's one of the things leaning on the stock. Everyone's saying, well, we're underfunded and blah, blah, blah. But that'll change. And there's a few things going on. So I'm really, I think Eloro's going to have, the second winds kicking in big time.
There's an important point you made about the TIB, because that's actually an offshoot of what is being interpreted as a large tin porphyry at depth. So maybe some investors were confused with this interpreted tin porphyry at depth that might be rather deep. It might be 500 or more meters deep. But the TIB starts near surface and goes down.
Sorry, no, the TIB is an offshoot. It's an uplift from the original, from the tin porphyry. So it's been uplifted by pressures, however that might be, but it's been uplifted. So you've got this oxidized uplift of material. At once upon a time it was sulfidic, but you've got all this cassiterite that's come in. So there's been different sort of temperature moves, and Oswaldo can explain that quickly. So that is very similar to the uplift at Cerro, which is a tin operation 40 kilometers due north of us. On the tin belt, that's a tin porphyry TIB. The Minsur San Rafael is a tin porphyry TIB. These are uplifts from the tin porphyry deeper down. So it's coming from down up, not up down.
So more holes pending from the tin domain right now. I heard you say we're going to get back in there and drill in April. That's what I like to hear. What more can you tell us about the tin domain?
So yeah, there's only a couple of holes left that will report on the tin, and Oswaldo and the team are working, and Bill are working on the the definition, the more of the infill definition drilling around the TIB. We've given everyone a break for a couple of weeks, and we should have 2 or 3 drills back in there before the end of April. At least 2 back into the tin, and maybe, just depending, maybe 2 into that, the silver domain. And there's another silver area that we're really looking forward to as well. That'll give us enough tonnage, higher grade tonnage. I want to see at the end of the day at least 45, 50 grams silver average. I think we can do better. But again, that model is, we're very fortunate with, the San Cristobal people and the help they've given us, on a non-disclosure basis with Quentin, just giving us an understanding somewhat. It's non-disclosure, so I can't say much, but it gives us an understanding of, the operational economics of a bigger, large scale operation 180 kilometers away. So yeah, Robert, I think we really are on the right track here, and I'm very, very happy. I think you're going to see, I think we're going to, the boat's turned. So it's looking good.
Conversations like with investors in the last, and also, what?
It's happened very quickly. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so what are your conversations like with investors in the last month? And also, I'm just curious, are you talking with any major mining firms?
We are definitely talking to 2 or 3 very interested parties, but this just happened. I think the whole perception, the way we were beaten down, is just a a low grade metal gravel pit was in the market psyche for, quite a long time, so it's taken a long time to get that sort of, that boat turning, and it's turning. But yeah, we certainly are talking to a few people at this stage. There are some NDAs being signed up. But I'm not relying on that at this stage. We really, now that we've got something here, we really want to fill these high grade areas up. That's going to give us, I believe a lot more leverage when we do. Inevitably, we're going to have someone coming in. Even this Bolivian discount, I think it's becoming laughable when you're seeing so many other jurisdictions in the world today and everyone's still trying to beat up Bolivia. I think those days are sort of coming to an end. But believe me, not just talking strategics, not just talking balance sheets, bigger balance sheets that might be interested in getting involved in this type of project. There's I believe, some country interest, foreign country interest, that's starting to show some real interest. And that's what I'm quite excited about. So, without getting into too much of that, I'm pursuing one country in particular. So that's the type of thing we need to eventually monetize and make our shareholders happy.
Speak to the majors. Is there anything that they're particularly focused on? With Eloro, are they more interested in the tin? Are they more interested in the silver?
Well, it's funny you say that because one's a tin company and the other's a silver company. So I don't want to say too much.
Okay. Final question, Tom. What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night?
Yeah.
Just always, like, let's say these holes came in and they were marginal. They were just 0.15 tin in sulfide, or we were getting 30 grams silver. I think that, if Iska Iska isn't giving, I would start to worry over time, like, what's the game? What's the end game here? Yeah, you can start a pilot plant. And remember, we started moving on this pilot plant even before, because it can work commercially, even with grades that we were getting, before these holes in the last month have come out. So nothing, what, I've been through this before. I went through this with Champion Iron. If you've got a good asset, eventually you got to just, twist and turn, and eventually something's going to fall. So I've done this for so long, Robert. Nothing really keeps me up. I mean, who knows? Some of my stupidity years gone by, maybe. Who knows?
Tom Larson, thank you for your time. Cheers.
Thanks, Robert.